ThaWaDa, Operation High Jump or Hijack, boss? Operation High Jump or Hijack, man? And how high did they jump? How high, man? August 1946, a year after the end of World War II, the United States Navy mounted an expedition to Antarctica, officially titled the United States Navy Antarctic Development Program. Developments, yeah. Sounds like gentrification, man. The mission, more commonly referred to as Operation High Jump, Hijack, was organized by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, United States Navy, led by Rear Admiral Richard H. Cruzen. Commanding officer for Byrd, High Jump would be his fourth Antarctic expedition and was expected to last 6 to 8 months. So this commanding officer, this admiral, took 4 expeditions. And you think they just stopped caring about it after that? Formed their Antarctic Treaty and said, forget about it, man. The primary goal of the mission was to establish an Antarctic research base, Little America. See, maybe you ain't never heard of the American dream, but these hijacks wanted to establish this new American dream. Number 4, the Navy also spent time training personnel, testing equipment in the cold conditions, because this is the Cold War, boss, and determining the feasibility of establishing and maintaining bases in the Antarctic. Operation Hijack or High Jump? Yeah, okay. I mean, we've seen some footage. They don't never give us that much. You just need to know, Managa, that this happened. We talked about last time Admiral Byrd taking 4,700 soldiers to Antarctica. 4,700, man. That is a full-on military operation. High jump or hijack. The Navy's unedited footage is also found in a newsreel format in our Universal News collection. One newsreel highlights the start of Operation High Jump with scenes captured at various or variety of ports. The second newsreel provides updates on High Jump, discussing the work being done in Antarctica. Yeah, Admiral Byrd had a lot to say about what was being done. He found a whole new land the size of America. Is that why they call it Little America? It's not smaller than America, Managa, but it's like the little homie, you know what I mean? Power wise, right? Power wise. A month later, the Mount Olympus detached from Operation High Jump and set sail for Washington, D.C.'s Naval Yard. So they took Olympus up there, man. Sounds like their whole Greek pantheon situation, right? The footage captures the sink making its way up to Potomac and Anacostia rivers. So look, man, they just talking about this ship's coming and the ship's gone. It's a 2-minute clip. What they got? Fair use in your caboose. National Archives. Operation High Jump or Hijack? Jabroni.
I am greatly honored by my appointment by President Truman to be the United States Ambassador to Poland. And I know that the historic friendship between the people of Poland and the people of the United States will always remain. And I have the utmost confidence that Poland, with an intelligent political philosophy, can overcome its hazards of geography.
Sea smoke greets Admiral Byrd's flagship Mount Olympus entering the Bay of Whales. Cold water meeting warm air steams from the chilly surface of the Antarctic close to the heart of the South Polar regions. Say, do you take a cold shower each morning? Brrr. Captain George Dupek, commander of the Eastern Task Group, gets a dunking that would cool a polar bear. But the doughty skipper works up an Australian crawl that foils Davy Jones and his well-known locker until help arrives to save him from the choppy sea. A motor whaler snares the captain in the record time of 6 minutes. Once aboard the ship, and the voyage continues through the ice-bound wastes of the deep South Pacific, where a couple of Southern gentlemen greet the intrepid group of explorers. Like Kilroy, the Admiral also gets around in his sky train. Arriving back at the base camp, he's greeted by his companions. Stars and Stripes float gracefully over Little America number 4, taking possession of uranium and all natural resources, including the where you'll meet
They try to skip to the SEALs taking control of uranium and natural resources. Same thing they did with America, Africa, everything else, right?
also gets around in his sky train. Arriving back at the base camp, he's greeted by his companions. Stars and Stripes float gracefully over Little America number 4, taking possession of uranium and all natural resources, including
Taking possession of uranium and all natural resources. Boss. Admiral Byrd said he found a land the size of America. Con.
Soviet Russia, but why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime.
Future.
Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And, you know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
I was going to ask you, does it have military importance?
It has some, and as the world shrinks, it will continue to shrink with an ever-increasing acceleration.
How will the world continue to shrink with an ever-increasing acceleration? Y'all leave a comment, let me know what he's yapping on. Is the ball shrinking? Are the lands coming back together? He seems like he's not playing, like the world is shrinking. And now it could just mean because they are exploring and discovering everything. But I don't know, boss. We're just talking about going straight, boss.
Thus bringing these places closer. And in the future, I can see a time when it will be very, very important strategically.
Well, has the development of air power increased the strategic importance of places like the
very much
Parma Peninsula, was it?
Very much so. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal, we would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica. Then between there and Cape Horn.
I've heard it said that there are 7 continents in the world.
Let's get it back.
Would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they are safer and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker Atka, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's ThaWaDa.
Mission.
Is that very definitely planned, or is that...
That is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand, I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia. But why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's
editor of Newsweek magazine.
Found out whether there was any land north of the North American continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an
Greatest living explorer. So when we bring up Admiral Byrd, Hijack City, man, they can't turn their nose up at this. This is like Neil Armstrong in real time, except it's real. He's a real explorer. We ain't talking about no fake astronauts. We're talking about those that's boldly going where none of these hijacks have gone before. I'm just, skipping around, getting to this drop, man, that he found a land the size of America beyond the South Pole.
an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. That's never been seen by a human being. There's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America.
From Middle America or Middle Earth, man. What do you mean Middle America? What's Middle America, man? Central America? Come on, man. They found a land the size of as big as the United States has never been seen by a human being beyond Antarctica, man. That don't fit on your ball.
Enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
Woo! Unexplored lands. Lands beyond the pole. Natural resources. Uranium, gold, you name it, coal. Everything, boss. Operation High Jump or Hijack. It's a military operation, man. Cold War, boss. Cold War. They got their dogs breaking through the ice, finding more lands beyond the poles, just like Richard Byrd just said, the size of America that's never been seen by a hijack. Hijack or hijack? Look at this man. Yeah. They making a big deal out of this parade, man. They parading just like they would for astronauts coming home, man. I'm just digging all these links, man. Hijack or hijack? Oh hell no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. Jumped up. Yeah, they're just gonna show you a bunch of cellars and water. You know what I mean? Of course. We gotta dig on a drop, man. We gotta dig on a drop. Operation Hijack or hijack? Is it illegal to fly over Antarctica? Uh, Short answer is no, it's not illegal to fly over Antarctica, but there are practical considerations that make it challenging. I wonder what. For regular airlines to navigate across the land, in many parts of Antarctica, there's limited or no infrastructure, no landing strips. Yeah, it's illegal. All right, don't try to get people in their planes going towards these barriers that you are guarding. Why are you guarding a barrier? Why can't planes fly over Antarctica? It's just limited infrastructure. That's their official excuse. Not like they can't say it's illegal or else people go crazy in the uproar, right? They got to be like, it's just limited infrastructure for your own safety. We just, with all our quadrillions of dollars, haven't built the infrastructure. We just can't, we can't build infrastructure anymore. So it's limited infrastructure. The vast remote expanse of Antarctica lacks the infrastructure. After all these years, 100 years, no infrastructure, right? Wrong. There's plenty of infrastructure. Underground, boss. Underground. Yeah, planes don't fly over the South Pole, boss. North Pole, boss. Yeah. Can I go? Why can't I go to Antarctica? Well, travelers do need permission to go. Or do not need. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Tourism operators must hold a valid permit. So you need a permit because you got to go with a tourism operator. America is not a country. Well, Antarctica is not about to say. The country is protected by the Antarctic Treaty. Here we go. Here we go. Antarctic Treaty. Here we go. The treaty that's never been broken throughout all their Cold Wars, World Wars. These countries just stay in alliance around this treaty. It's never been broken. I wonder why. I mean, is it for peaceful or for killing? Is hijack peace our peace? Nope. Because as soon as we want our peace and want our land and be peaceful, hijack free, they call us rebels and savages and violent people. Now we are, um, you know, now we're demons to them, right? Now we are Satan's and adversaries to hijack city because we oppose our own destruction, because we oppose our own captivity. Their peace ain't our peace. Our shalom ain't their peace. Scientific use, yeah. Well, are they going to tell us all the sciencey things they're doing? Antarctic Treaty is Antarctica's guarded. Why is Antarctica guarded? Antarctica is guarded to protect its unique environment. Oh, here we go. Science. Or is it guarded for another reason? You think they're going to give you the reason why it's guarded? Conducting scientific investigations? And it's also guarded as a political symbol of cooperation. You mean a confederacy holding a secret dating back to the Cold War? Well, that's 1946-47 where Admiral Byrd is over there, you know, exploring, right? The Cold War happened right after the Banana Wars. We got that last time. A lot was happening in 1946-47. What does a Cold War have to do with Antarctica? Military activity in Antarctica equals Cold War, boss. 1959, the Antarctic Treaty, 11 nations accepted it originally. Now they got everybody else. But the most powerful nations back then accepted it. And it was on from there. I mean, what they say about it at the U.S. Department of State. Oh, yeah, the treaty provides Antarctica should be used for peaceful purposes. Whose peace? Because they can say we're using it for peaceful purposes to create some, major weapon to keep the Negroes at bay. Like, that's their peace, right? To keep the dragons at bay, right? That's their peace. Those dragons are for us to help us, but that's not their peace. The dragons rising ain't peaceful to them. They could be peaceful to you. So whenever they say peace, you got to say peaceful to who? Because their peace ain't. No hijack's peace is going to be your peace. No invader's peace is going to be your peace, my nigga. It prohibits any measure of military nature, right? So they have to go underground, do the sciencey, experimenty, run the play on the surface, and then underground they could do whatever they want. Establish all the military bases. You got they say Hitler went missing over there and did some stuff. A lot, a lot of military connections going on between Admiral Byrd, Russia, this Cold War, that. All this was about Antarctica, boss. Even the little Russia situation, the carrying out of military maneuvers. Yeah. It's supposed to be peaceful. That's what they say. Currently, there are 50 parties to the treaty, of whom 28 are consultative parties that participate in decision making. Yeah, they're all in on it. Now include the original 12 contracting parties, as well as Brazil, Bulgaria, China, Ecuador, Finland, Germany, India, Italy, Korea, the Netherlands, Peru, Poland, Spain, Sweden, Ukraine. Is that why, this whole Ukraine, Russia thing, now it's like no one's talking about Ukraine and Russia, right? Putin and all that. But America helping Ukraine and all, sympathetic to Ukraine because they're locked in through the treaty with Ukraine. And Putin's like, man, I'm just popping off. He's just popping off. Yeah. Putin doing his own thing over there in Antarctica. They got the UK, Australia. Yeah, I don't see Russia, man. So Putin is doing his own thing. Okay, they got Soviet Union. You know what I mean? That's still kind of iffy as to, how Putin is rocking. Maybe they had the Soviet Union. Maybe Putin ain't really rocking under that situation. I don't know, man. But the United States did not recognize the claims of other governments and reserve the rights to assert claims. Did not. Who are you to not recognize the claims? Who are you forming your corporation in 1776 on the head bone of the Chickamauga Cherokee, indigenous cons in India Superior, talking about you discovered America, found a bunch of Nagas like you found across the plain, more dark-skinned Nagas the further you went to the farthest Indias. There are more Indias. India is a generic term for wherever so-called dark people are. Copper-colored cons. That's another India. How many more Indias are there across the planet, across the pole, across the boundary? So this treaty ain't never been, retracted, canceled. None of that. Broken. None of that. Okay. And Admiral Byrd, see, right after he found more land the size of America, they shut him up. There wasn't no talk about this no more, man. He said enough. Resources, land, he said enough.
As big as the United States, that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole.
You see, if we're on a flat plane and we need explorers, right? The government, the Navy, and all them, they need explorers to go straight. This was their guy. This was their guy. Then someone got smart and said, let's just put him on the ball. We don't need Admiral Byrd. We're going to go underground, black ops, taxpayer dollars. They're not going to know what's happening. Let's make a treaty that we're all going to support the ball. We're all going to support the ball, right? The ball. Now they just rock with the ball, all the balls, the blue marbles. I want to dig on some blue marble, but yeah, blue marble is blue marble. You know, he was protecting the blue marble. He was protecting the ball. It was a Naga protecting the ball. And they loved it as long as he kept them safe. But then they realized one day when his mask got ripped off and the people knew that he was a Negro, they turned against him because the Nagas wanted him to use his power to raise up the Nagas, you know. And then he still wanted to be, you know, rocking with Hijack City, according to the comic. He still wanted to work for them. And then they were afraid that, you know, he was going to turn on them, so they didn't feel safe. So the whites didn't feel safe. And the niggas was like, how come you ain't, you know what I'm saying, you know, hitting the streets, man? How come you ain't hitting the front lines with your gamma with your gamma waves and protecting us and causing, you know, a Nat Turner style rebellion, right? Why can't we rebel? We got Super Naga, right? He was the first Superman. So he was caught between two worlds, they say. Blue Marble was protecting the marble. Blue Marble was protecting the marble. You can't go straight. Admiral Byrd, what do you mean he's going to explore? No, now we need astronauts. We just got to pop off the ball to get to another world. But on the flat plane, you just go straight. You just go straight. You just go straight to get to more worlds beyond the poles. Operation High Jump or Hijack. I think you get it. I think we all get it. Operation High Jump is Hijack City. Well, Blue Marvel Land. What does this Negro have to do with the melanated true Earth plane, with the flat plane? Well, secrets, man. So they brought this back to around the JFK era, Robert Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. We're still talking U.S. Navy. We're still talking the same people. And, you know, this is a scientist. He had all the drop. He was protecting the world. Don't you think he knows that the world was round or a flat plane? He has the, you know, he got the height. He got the perception. He got the evidence. He got the validation. He's flying all over the place, just like Superman. Don't you think Superman would know? But they don't want that type of validation. Everybody love this so-called black man, and he turns around and tell him, "Hey, man, you ain't on no spinning ball." He can now give up all their secrets, man. It wasn't just about him being a Negro. Same thing with Prester John. They knew that he was a Negro. They still looking for him as some saving figure for them to try to help them against the Moors out there, you know, the Christian Moor conflict, so-called, which seems like they were really on the same side, searching for the promised land to take it from the Hebrews right here in America. You can't let this superpower noggin let out all these secrets. You think this is play? Love the comics explain fair use and they caboose, ball. You think this is play? They got secrets, man.
They can't let you do this, Anti-Man.
It's the only way they'll understand. Believe me, the only way.
I know we jumped into it. This is Blue Marvel. Right now, he's wearing a mask. When his mask is ripped off, you see he's a Naga. He's fighting Anti-Man because they was like, they have similar powers, and he's the only one that could take down Anti-Man. Anti-Man is like straight up Nat Turner for real. He just wants to destroy all hijacks. Blue Marvel is stopping Anti-Man from destroying all the hijacks, right? So he's really saving Hijack City right now. Because Anti-Man, without Blue Marvel, Hijack City is a wrap. So Blue Marvel is stepping in, taking the heat again to save the world.
Please, don't do this. These people have done nothing to you.
Ironic you care for them, but they care for no one save themselves. I, on the other hand, will make them care.
Connor, you're sick. Please.
No, Adam. My mind has never been clearer. Help me to make them see as well.
We can't force the world to be what it should be. It has to happen naturally. Not through acts of terror, but by example. That's what heroes do! I don't want to hurt you, but you have to be stopped!
Never!
Oh no.
Are they dead?
You can't be. Blue Marvel's gotta be all right.
Blue Marvel! Blue Marvel!
Uh-oh, boss. His mask got ripped. I see this black man, this nigger with pearly white teeth. Oh no, this nigger's the one that's been saving the world. You don't like this nigger.
This gentleman is the Blue Marvel, America's Blue Marvel, the magnificent master of might, the man of marvels, the blue bomber of battle, a Negro.
Screenshot this. It's crazy, man. It's crazy talk. A Negro. A Negro, yeah. Now this Negro, they just said is the magnificent master of might, the man of marvels. Remember we looked up marvel? It means a wonder, a wonderment. You walk in a room, you see them wondering at you. They try so hard to destroy you. You keep going, you see them wondering at you. They see a Naga popping off, going dragging on them. They're wondering how you got this power. You are the marvel. You are the wonder. Hey, shout out Natural by Law, Five Eyes My. Everybody that got me digging on Blue Marvel, because you see how it is. You see what it is. We're talking quantum, man. Go get the whole quantum series we did. We got to continue that, man. Quantum. Yeah. We're talking Blue Marvel. Anti-man. He's dealing with the antimatter. You know what I'm saying? We're talking CERN. We're talking quantum. We're talking time travel. Suspended animation, man. Prester John is a Marvel character, ain't he? All these copper color Marvels, man. Original Superman, original Hulk, my nigga. You didn't know about the original Black Hulk? Let's go.
Negro. Bits of his mask were torn, revealing different parts of his face. We ran this through military RMI protocols and got a match. Adam Bernard Brashear. Won a handful of medals in Korea. Graduated magna cum laude from Cornell in '54, electrical engineering. PhD in theoretical physics. Definitely not your average colored.
What are you trying to say? He's a super smart Negro that's not average. Why? Because you got us in public school, fool?
It's been to outer space. He helped us with that meteor. When the Enterprise was damaged in the Pacific, he lifted the damn thing out of
This is Superman, man.
the water and flew it all the way home. And don't forget that hydrogen bomb incident. Polaris aboard the Nautilus malfunctioned. He got it into the air and out of harm's way just before it exploded in his hands over the Atlantic. In this social climate, a colored man with that kind of power is a problem we would not be able to handle should things get out of...
Same thing that happened to Tupac. Same thing that happened to Tupac. A colored man with that type of power, love him or hate him, he had the power of the streets, the jails, across the seas, overseas. Same thing with Bob Marley. Through the music, you got, athletes that are hated on. This super smart scientist, super naga gets hated on. Any type of naga of color, right? Any type of colored man with that kind of power. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, my naga. I don't care what you think about it. They still had a power that these hijacks needed to control should things get out of hand. They're fearful of us turning on them. I guess so, after all you've done. All you can do is live in fear. So for the rest of their existence, they're going to keep their foot on your neck if they can, because they don't want things to get out of hand. You see clearly?
Out of hand.
Mr. President, if I may,
JFK.
I can appreciate your sense of liberty and justice for all, sir. But you have to understand, we are on the brink of a socio-political watershed in our country's history. Civil rights will reach a fever pitch in the next few years. The presence of a superpowered black man of that level...
Superpowered black man will upset the apple cart. Wasn't no superpowered black man. So I'm thinking if we look into the timeline of the JFK flow, cross-reference that with some super sonic, super smart nagas at that time, maybe name Adam. That's what the whole series Black Adam is about. It's Adam. His name is Adam. We might be able to find who this Blue Marvel, is or was back then. You know what I'm saying? Because clearly this is recent history, civil rights, and now you got the superpower black man.
will upset the apple cart.
Is that right? And you are?
Kelly, sir. Robert Kelly, NSA. The whole country has turned on him in a matter of months. Last week he saved 16 children from a burning orphanage and watched through rocks and bottles at him. Hurled racial slurs that'd make a Klansman blush. And that was up north. Some cop shoots him, the bullet ricochets, kills an old woman, and they blame the Blue Marvel. Many of his own people, coloreds, don't even like him. They expect him to be some kind of Negro messiah and kill all the white people.
Yeah, that's what they're afraid of, Jack. When the naga goes naga. So any so-called black messiah on the rise, Negro messiah, they're going to want to take out just in case, because if he raises all these Negroes together, remember, unity is your greatest weapon. If you get unified, they are afraid of that. So they're going to do everything to keep you disunified. Put you in different religious sects, put you in different, neighborhood sectors, man. Republican, Democrat, they're going to do everything to keep us separate. Everything. Because they don't want us coming together. And you know why. We know it's more, but still, them trying to get in where they fit in, they know they're guilty. They know they're guilty. And out of guilt, they're going to want to kill the Blue Marvel. Out of guilt, they're going to try to run off the Blue Marvel. His own people don't like him. because you got him in the mind of a hijack. He's caught between two worlds because of the invasion. His mind is still, hijacked as well. You know what I'm saying? He still thinks you're kind of the good side. He might still think you're the good side of Hijack City. But the moment he realizes who you are for real, what you've been up to, what he's really up against, ain't gonna be no hot and cold. It's gonna be going up, going up. Hijack City going up in a blaze. So this is their issue with us. They're searching for the Negro Messiah because they don't want us to go naga on them.
They burned down their own neighborhoods in protest because he refused to lead them in a genocide against us.
Caught between two worlds. And all he's done for this country. Saved the world from disasters and despots. Yet he can't even eat a ham sandwich in one of our cafeterias in his own hometown.
Why they want to give him the Swizzon? Why they want to give Blue Marvel the Swizzon?
We could have taken down the white and colored only signs years ago. But we didn't. Could have abolished Jim Crow completely, but again, we didn't.
We did.
But now that a colored man has come along who can stand up to us, we become paranoid, frightened children.
You're the president, Jack. It's your decision.
No. It's the world's decision. We both know why we're here. My grandfather used to tell me about the signs that said, Irish need not apply.
But they don't say that now, do they, sir?
I'll get right to the point. The world's afraid of you, Mr. Bashir. They have visions of a vengeful, super-powered Negro taking over the world. Everyone is afraid of people or things they don't understand. And from my experience, they don't really want to understand. Ignorance isn't bliss, it's familiar. And unfortunately, there's comfort in that.
So how do we educate them, sir?
Only time can educate. And she isn't on our side.
What are you really trying to tell me, sir?
I'm asking you to stand down. To cease all your activities as the Blue Marvel, effective immediately.
For how long?
This is the best I can do for you. It's a Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor that can be bestowed upon.
He done saved countless lives and he gets a piece of grimy metal and kicked out. Because can't no one stand up to the people and let them know, nah, I'm rocking with this nigga. He had our back. He's getting pressure from his tribe to go against the Blue Marvel. The Blue Marvel's getting pressure from his tribe to go against the hijack. Caught between two worlds.
Upon a civilian for his or her undying humanitarian efforts for...
It's been an honor, sir.
You did the right thing, Jack. It was the only...
Now, Bobby, please. How could it ever be right to tell a man he can't be who he is? I only pray that should we ever need him again, he'll find in his heart to forgive us.
Yeah, right. I mean, to me, once you kick him out, he's even more of a situation because, now he's definitely going to be for his people. So, the real story, they had to try to take his power for good, right? For good. And who did they send to drain the black man of his power? Who did they send on the black man?
Thank you for coming on short notice, General Mason.
So what are my orders?
These come from the top. We'll need you to keep an eye on him.
Right, so after they release him, now they got to spy on him, make his life a living hell, and take him down with who? The white girl. They send the Caucasian to take down the brother. The same damn play. Say it with me. Damn. They ran the same play as undercover brother and Pootie Tang. Damn.
Do you have a fiancé?
No, sir.
Good.
Dun dun dun. You already know, man. That she come in, he don't even know she's a CIA, and she gonna bring him down from the inside, from his heart bone, man. That's what they do, man. You know what I mean? It's hard, man, but this is all happening around the same time. You know, when was JFK in office? Let's see. John F. Kennedy, 35th president. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Early 60s. Just piecing some stuff together. What JFK would have known, right? What would he have known as the chief of state? 61, 62, 63. 61, 62, 63. Man, I can't make this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. So the year Kennedy comes into office, here comes the Antarctic Treaty, and Blue Marvel gets the boot. Blue Marvel gets the boot because nobody want him to tell about the flat plains. They don't want Blue Marvel to tell what's going on the other side of Antarctica, man, because he got all the secrets. They can't keep those secrets if Blue Marvel's rocking, right? They got to make a treaty and cut all the loose ends, right? Cut all the loose ends. Cut the ties. Is there a coincidence that this was entered into force in 1961? June 23rd, 1961? JFK is the 35th president. He comes into office 1961, and then he gives Blue Marvel the boot. The Blue Marble? Damn, man. I mean, it's just a coinky man. Y'all think so? Y'all think it's play? Okay. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. I'm gonna need my theme music, man. Let's get to chapter 2. Worlds Beyond the Pole. Oh, what's that? Chapter 3. I went too far. Wow. Here a little, there a little. Repetition breaks the spell. Mistress of deception. Connected universe. Let us remember it is the brain that sees, and that the human eye is only a faulty window, which shows us but an infinitesimal portion of the universe about us. Figure 1 indicates the deceptions experienced and the telescopic observation of the universe about us, but it is not intended to show the true contour of the universe whole. It is meant to express only the salient features of the physical continuity. It shows how all connected land and sky areas of the universe have positive continuity with the Earth. But it also shows how every sky area of the universe must deceptively appear to telescopic detection as a globular area, and that deception of globularity imposes the delusion that the areas are isolated. Connecting areas or parts of the illustration's luminous outer sky curves may be considered star areas between the planets. Though the illustration shows them all more or less alike, there does exist variation in their luminous depth, but they are all areas of luminous outer sky surface of the universe. Variations in luminous depth result from differences in intensity of gaseous sky content. Such variations in turn developed the differences in the astronomer's spectrum and spectroscopic analysis. All luminous areas of the universe illustration are in common with the universe. It represents observable parts of an infinitely continuous and unbroken outer sky surface. It covers underlying celestial land, water, and ice, as it covers such elements of the terrestrial. So this figure one. Let's see, this is figure two. This is really interesting here because, you know what I mean, you see how it has the both north and south pole points next to each other. Kind of like a battery, the polarity, right? Negative, positive charge, yada, yada. Kind of forming like a torus field. Land to sky, 7 miles of oxygen. So from the land to the sky, they say there's 7 to 10 miles of oxygen. Then you got the stratosphere, any part of Earth's luminous outer sky, as proven, is just an other star or planet. But it's all connected: ice, land, and water. Connecting land areas beyond North Pole explored February 1947, Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Here we go. Earth's North Pole, Earth's South Pole, next to each other. It's way different than what they gave us on the ball, right? You know, they play with us, man. They give us a ball when we're dealing with a circle. They give us, you know what I'm saying, this curved land and curved water when we're dealing with flat land and flat water. And both poles are right next to each other. I mean, what is a pole? What is a pole? We ever look at pole? We ever just take these words for granted, man? Pole. What's a pole? Stake, staff, all right. You know, pole fencing, pole position, all right. Northern or southern end. Right. So how can the northern and southern end, how can it be right next to each other? How can a northern and southern end be right next to each other? Unless it's not the end. End of an axis. Also the sky. The heavens. Whoa, okay. Birdman and Rub. When I think North Pole, I don't think about the heavens and the sky, do you? When I think South Pole, we don't think about the heavens and the sky. They got us thinking about Santa Claus and yada yada, but who's really guarding the gateway? So these poles are like access points to the sky, luminous sky areas, or the heaven. And they say pivot, axis of a sphere of the sky. Okay. Move around, right? So again, like a battery, you know, like a torus field, there is movement of the electromagnetic field. That's moving, not the land, though. Hijack don't give you everything. Native of Poland, all right. Oh, whoa. What? Pole G, field, flat to spray. Flat To spread is a pole. Is that what you get from this picture? They just give you one definition. We gotta get more. It's my first time looking up the definition of poles. How much flat drop have we done? So now you know pole can also mean flat. To spread. Or heaven. So like the heavens are flat, the heavens are spread. Got it. So these poles next to each other are, you know, digging on the flatness, the spreading out into the heavens. We're just talking about vortexes, my man. U.S. Naval Force Flight 23, 2,300 miles beyond South Pole, January 13, 1956. Connecting land areas beyond South Pole discovered by Hearst Wilkins Antarctic Expedition and Admiral E. Byrd, Richard Byrd, 1928. So 1956, they went 2,300 miles beyond the South Pole. The South Pole was already discovered and areas beyond that connecting land in 1928. So 30 years of them popping off beyond these poles, including 1947 expedition, Richard Byrd. Figure 1, again, shows the Earth's north. So North and South Pole next to each other. Same type of flow, right? Land, ice, water throughout the universe. Uh, from South Pole into the so-called heavens above. Don't pole mean heavens? Don't pole mean heavens? Into the heavens, right? So I guess they figure when you go to the ends of the earth, right? When you go to the northern or southern end, you're going into the heavens of the flat, spread out plane, right in your face. Then we got the vault. Oh, pole vault, right? Like the vault of heaven, we got that, right? So firmament talk. Now we're talking firmament again. Let's get a little more. Here a little, there a little. There's also shown the region of atmospheric density between land surface and the inner blue sky. The distance is the same at celestial level as it is at terrestrial level, and the oxygen content is sufficient to sustain vegetation and life at celestial levels. What? The oxygen content is sufficient to sustain life. In the Copernican concept of planetary oscillation, the sun is consumed or assumed to occupy the center of the dark stratosphere. Heliocentric, right? And connecting outer sky areas of the universe are assumed to be isolated units, and they are assumed to perform a rotative movement around the sun's center of a mathematically prescribed universe subdivision known as the solar system. That solar system arrangement, which embraces the Earth, represents something of a combined celestial and terrestrial pinwheel. To make for easier comprehension of physical continuity, the pinwheel solar system center, or sun, has in a way been pulled out to afford it reasonable placement as a guide or a leader for the entire connected universe. Because now the sun is moving at 450 ThaWaDa, right? 1,000 miles per hour, according to NASA. Now, originally the Copernican theory, the sun was still, it was stationary. Yeah, the sun was stationary and we are going around it. Now they're saying the sun is moving at 450,000 miles per hour and we're still going around it, but we're only going 67,000 miles per hour. How do we catch up? How do we catch up? As the illustration shows, every previously assumed isolated area of the universe whole, including the Earth, holds its original position in the universe structure, and every area maintains its daily and yearly relation to the sun. Accordingly, the illustration shows how the land and sky of the celestial extend to and connect with the Earth's imaginary pole points. Heavens flat. It shows that we may move beyond the earth without falling off the edge or falling off the quote ends. The following descriptive material, in conjunction with the illustration, should afford ample guidance for comprehension of the factual universe as it was created. 1. The dark center represents the perpetually dark stratosphere surrounding the terrestrial and the celestial. It is part of the dark void of infinity wherein the universe whole was created. The luminous outer partial disk, to be observed against stratospheric darkness, represent the skylight developed over all areas of the universe. A continuity of the same blue sky we observe from land surface everywhere on the terrestrial is seen by inhabitants of every other universe area when they, as we do, look up or out from their respective land surface positions. So everybody sees the same blue sky. And looking through their inner blue sky at night, they observe the luminosity of our gaseous outer sky areas in precisely the same manner we observe their outer sky luminosity against the darkness. Since their lenses cannot be expected to penetrate through areas of our luminous skylight and detect the land under our sky, it is most likely that they have deduced erroneously of our and as we have of their land. Therefore, the inner side of all outer luminous disk like areas of the illustration may be understood to represent the familiar gaseous sky envelope observable from any terrestrial location as out particular blue sky or as our particular blue sky. So our blue sky is nothing but a gaseous sky envelope atmosphere, right? Observable from any terrestrial location. From all other land areas of the universe, the blue sky, likewise seen, represents the particular sky of inhabitants of such areas, inasmuch as recent U.S. naval stratospheric photographs of outer sky areas prove them to be luminous and presenting the identical appearance of celestial areas. Confirmation is had that there exists the same, listen up, there exists the same gaseous sky content for the celestial as it is known to envelope the terrestrial, since the luminosity of outer terrestrial sky areas corresponds to that of outer celestial sky areas. It follows that atmospheric conditions underlying the sky envelope where our celestial cousins dwell, other Nagas beyond the plane, must correspond to atmospheric conditions prevailing at terrestrial level. Thus, the inner blue sky must also correspond throughout the entire universe. Our experiments show that without the existence of an inner blue sky of gaseous content, there could be no luminous outer sky, which is an expression of sky gas to be observed over terrestrial or celestial areas. A plain truth from the ancients to Abrahamic Bibles to modern times. Get a little piece of this for the dead smile. We're just going to keep getting here a little, there a little, man. Just wetting our chops, getting back into the flat drop, one-on-one, my naga. And, this is just, your recon is just the beginning, man, because you got to keep going. You know what I'm saying? It's not enough to recon in 2012. You got to keep the water flowing because as the spell wears off, you're going to start seeing clear and clear. Things that might have seemed more complex 8 years ago are not going to be complex to you because you are way more advanced. You are way more tuned in, my nugget. You've been tuning in. You've been tuning up. Columbus proves the earth is not flat. Seriously, boss. Yeah, Arawak babies were killed for dog food, man. The Spaniards ran short of meat to feed the dogs, so they fed Naga babies. This is fact. Look up Gator Bay. They even fed us to alligators, right? American Holocaust. The closest he got to the mainland of North America was Puerto Rico. In the aftermath of Columbus's voyage, John Cabot sailed from Bristol, England, which in turn opened the way for the first colony in Jamestown, Virginia, and allowed the English to claim America as their own. As their own. Resources, natural resources, right? Everything Admiral Byrd is talking about, little America, right? More resources claimed for them, for their own. Columbus was no hero. He can easily be rebranded the first American terrorist. But they worried about Blue Marvel. Why? Because of all this killing and all this genocide on their watch, right? It's the same government. It's the same corporation invading us. The same confederacy, the same treaties. Yeah, man. It's sick. Columbus's acts of cruelty were so unspeakable and so legendary, even in his own day. The governor, Francisco de Bobadilla, arrested Columbus and his two brothers, slapped them into chains, shipped them off to Spain to answer for the crimes against the Arawaks and all the Nagas in India Superior. But the king and queen of Spain, their treasury filling up with gold, pardoned Columbus and let him go free. This is why they worry. This is why they are afraid. The real annihilations did not start until the beginning of Columbus's second voyage to the Americas in 1493. For while he had expressed admiration for the overall generosity of the indigenous people and considered the Tainos to be very handsome, gentle, friendly, real Nagas, he interpreted all these positive traits as signs of weakness and vulnerability, saying, if devout religious persons knew the Indian language well, all these people would soon become Christian. So why you gotta kidnap them if they're so gentle and friendly and handsome and beautiful? Oh, because they're so kind. Because you made it to the promised land and you wanted to kidnap the Nagas of the promised land and take them back to Spain. Again, they didn't just bring you on boats, Manakas. You are the Tainos. You are the Arawak. You are the Chickamauga. And this kept going. That's why America had to fight the Chickamauga Cherokee first. They had to fight the same lineage of Nagas, man. When they came this time and said, hey, man, we just want all the land. We just want all the land. All of it. All of it. On his third voyage, 1494, in December, Columbus captured 1,500 Nagas on the island of Hispaniola and herded them to Isabella, where 550 of the best males and females were forced aboard ships bound for slave markets. Shalom, my Naga, this don't sound like you just came from Africa and slavery started in West Africa. Nah, man. Slavery started when they picked up the Nagas right here in the so-called New World, forced them aboard ships bound for slave markets. They kept doing this to extinction, they say. Let's go. It is incumbent on all flat earth researchers to gratefully acknowledge the heavy lifting and pioneering work of not only the ancient flat earth cosmologists, but of those who spoke out directly against the Copernicus theory of cosmology when the church and state first published their round ball heliocentric theories to school children or kidnapped young Naga babies, right? In the late 1800s, this is when they made their Indian schools, public schools, to brainwash. They put a big round ball, and then they told them that they from Africa. I mean, think about that. They gave them the reverse of everything. They told them that they were cursed. Everything that the hijack is, they put it on us. We're the cursed one. We're the savages. We're from Africa. We're spinning on a ball. These flat Earth Hall of Fame members include Samuel Rothenbaugh, Lady Blunt, Samuel Shenton, William Carpenter, Gabrielle Henriette, David Wardlaw Scott, Gerard Dixon, and Charles and Marjorie Johnson, the last iconoclast. Their work was picked up in the 1970s with the fine work of Charles and Marjorie Johnson, who tirelessly published and promoted their newsletter, The Flat Earth News. As their publication subscriptions began to increase, suddenly their home and all their flat earth records were lost when burned by unnamed arsonists. Why you gotta destroy the evidence if it's fake, man? Why you gotta burn their house down, if this is just fake? If you have all the proof, like, why do you care, right? Because they're trying to deny the truth, deny us of hearing the truth. They died poor and desolate in the mountains outside of Los Angeles, California. Also, Mr. Gerard Dixon wrote a must-read book in 1920s when Einstein's theory was first introduced, entitled King's Dethroned. He alone took on the great mathematical mistakes, misrepresentations, and purposely laid out misdirections from Copernicus to Einstein. Towards the end of his life, he ended up having to preach his geocentric truth atop a soapbox in his native Carolina hometown, where no one in government, academia, or science would listen to him about flat earth theory, or the melanated true earth plane, or how the kings of astronomy had got it oh so wrong. Yeah, man. Egyptian cosmology enclosure, Norse, Hindu, Mayan, Inca, Navajo, Hebrew, and here comes NASA with their damn boat. And they had to do this after they invaded you, Monogamy. Put you in their Indian brainwash school. They say Turtle Island, huh? Yeah, okay. Maybe the hero's journey has taken us far enough, and the time has come for a different mythic imagination to rise and offer multiple approaches to the many dilemmas and complicated problems in our world today. Whereas the hero's journey tends to be conceived as a courageous search in distant lands, the genius myth involves a turn within that leads to a sense of self, but also return to the origins of our lives. Shout out Mike Mead. The Babylonian universe was a three-tiered structure with the flat earth floating on waters under the heaven. An ancient stone that depicted how the earth was thought of by the ancient Babylonians. Cosmology, cosmic geography of ancient Israel with the heavenly dome Jerusalem's temple on top. We got what, Leviathan down here chilling. Okay, you see Egyptian cosmology, right? We got some of that. Their god is Nut, and Geb over here acting like he's the mountains and stuff. Ancient Vedic cosmology. They just got the layers. Letting you know that there's levels to this plane. From the two shells he formed heaven and earth. In the middle he put the air. And the 8 directions of the world and the eternal dwelling of the water, creation of the cosmos and Manu. And out of those 2 halves he formed heaven and earth. Between them, middle sphere, the 8 point of horizon, and the eternal abode of the water. We're just taking a trip in different cosmologies. The 9 worlds, Nordic cosmology, ancient tree. There are levels to these heavens. Lord of the Ring type flow. Okay. It's going quickly, man. The Asgard 9 world flow. Just like the Nordic flow. Is it play? Home of the fire dragons. Okay. Tibetan cosmology. They got layers. Kind of like the Vedic flow. Native American cosmologies. Managa. So you're seeing, consistency. Not a spinning ball, but a flat, spread out. Levels. Layers. All throughout, man. So here comes NASA with their ball. Here comes NASA with their impossible. For the dismal, we like to dig on at least one doc, man. So let's see if we can get at least one good doc on the way out of here.
Einsteinian answer, we would say gravity is the curvature.
Let's see what we can stumble on. Okay. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon. Let's go. For the dismal.
Since the beginning of recorded history, the human race has been at war. First with members of their own family, then their fellow countrymen, and finally nations at large. Yet perhaps...
Hold on, man. I'm just going to belly fly, man. We only got a few minutes. So we've been talking JFK. Let's belly flop on this JFK, man. Let's go.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things.
Now, this is the fool that banned Blue Marvel, man. 1961, right? What a belly flop. We out of here, baby.
Because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We take an additional risk by making it in full view of the world. But as shown by the feat of astronaut Shepard, this very risk enhances our stature when we are successful.
The technology necessary to launch the massive Saturn V rocket and an intercontinental ballistic missile is 95% similar. When the Soviet Union launched mankind's first satellite, Sputnik, in 1957, there was grave concern that they had mastered space ahead of the United States and might use this advantage to launch a first nuclear strike from an orbit high above North America. When they also put the first animal in space, then the first man in space, then achieved the first spacewalk, the first crew of 3, and the first ever of 2 simultaneously orbiting spacecrafts, concern turned to fear and then horror as America watched their communist enemy achieve all these firsts with no hope in sight of ever catching up.
President, a member of Congress said today that he was tired of seeing the United States second to Russia in the space field. I suppose he speaks for a lot of others. What is the prospect that we will catch up with Russia and perhaps surpass Russia in this field?
However tired anybody may be, and no one is more tired than I am, it is a fact that it's going to take some time, and I think we have to recognize it. They secured these large boosters, which have led to their being first in Sputnik and led to their first putting their man in space. We are, I hope, going to be able to carry out our efforts with due regard to the problem of the life of the man involved this year. But
look at all the pressure JFK was under, man. Like, come on, man, when are we going to put somebody in space? So what they do, they started building underwater facilities and see how they can fake it to the American public, right? For the dismount.
We are behind.
If it was impossible to better the Soviets in the space race, which was really a race of technological armaments, what could be done? How could America offset the threat of superior weaponry? Throughout the history of rivalry and war, astute generals of lesser armies than their counterparts have used deceit and misinformation as a method to achieve victory. In World War II, for example, columns of inflatable tanks were placed at locations afar from Normandy to draw German forces away from the real location of invasion. The Star Wars missile defense program rigged tests to make it seem more advanced than it really was. That's the conclusion of the General Account Office. The aim was to fool the Soviet Union about US military readiness during the Cold War.
Cold War.
Certainly, it was not possible to fool just the Soviets about US strategic capability in the 1960s, while somehow informing 200 million Americans of the truth secretly. In order for them to believe the United States had the capability to go to the moon, everyone would have to believe it. Furthermore, the pride of a nation was at stake, and the goal of a martyr, not to mention the growing unrest domestically of a government throwing tens of thousands of lives away in a foreign war riddled with contradiction and ambiguity. In addition, the Apollo program had already spent billions of dollars. If it failed to achieve its goal with such an investment, it would indeed be a large and bitter pill for the taxpayers to swallow. The cost of the program, whose sole goal was to be the first to plant a flag on the lifeless rock just outside the Earth, if adjusted for inflation to the 21st century, was $135 billion. With a profit margin of just 7%, this would be equal to over $9 billion profit going to the privileged contractors chosen by their friends at NASA. If the machinery was in fact only achieving Earth orbit, as other earlier missions had already done, then the completion and functionality of the other components would not have been as important, and even more profit would have been made. $135 billion could feed 2 million people for their entire lives. It could also buy 2 million two-bedroom houses. Yet how could such an undertaking be kept secret, and for such a long time? To the latter, one needs only to remember that an unsolved riddle 6 years older, the assassination of President Kennedy, still daunts the minds of the vast majority of Americans. As a parent of a conspiracy, as his assassin being assassinated himself, the truth of the matter has still escaped history. In keeping a secret of the magnitude of the Apollo missions being fraudulently created, one turns to the Manhattan Project for comparison. surreptitiously building the first nuclear bomb during the early to mid-1940s involved one...
I mean, which secret was he keeping? We got the comic flow. He had the secret, trying to, the Blue Marvel. He had to let him go because of the secret of him being a colored Negro Messiah. And if he had the secrets on the real space program situation, then he also knew he wasn't on no damn ball. And was he going to give up them secrets too? Rest in power, JFK, man.
129,500 people over a 3-year period. Yet the secret did not get out. A quarter century later, the art and technology of espionage inevitably improved, narrowing dramatically the number of players in the know of a large clandestine operation. Just 1 year before the first mission to the moon, NASA launched the Tetra satellite, specifically designed to simulate flight data coming from the moon, so that the ground crews could rehearse the landing, much as the astronauts did in their own simulations. Had it not supposedly fallen back to Earth, all that would have been needed during the actual flight would be a repeat of one of these computer programs, with a few original variations, transmitted to the satellite for rebroadcast to Houston. Scores of computers and their deceived operators on the ground would then receive prearranged information, including the alleged location, altitude, and fuel consumption of the spacecraft, as if it were descending to the moon's surface. If the Soviets tried to find the actual location of an Apollo crew in the hundreds of thousands of miles surrounding the Earth and the Moon, it would be tantamount to trying to find a rowboat in the Atlantic Ocean. The fact that the Apollo program was so departmentalized, with various construction and test sites around the country, meant that only a few people saw the whole picture. And for the first time ever, there was no independent press coverage of such an historical event. Whatever pictures and sound were distributed to the public were strictly controlled and previewed by the federal government. They were then disseminated unchecked until this hour. For who would realize that the unthinkable was not only possible, but absolutely true? And what of the photographs? What do they tell us? On 3 separate occasions, our office asked NASA's Public Relations Department for every single picture of an astronaut on the surface of the moon, just during the maiden voyage of Apollo 11. Many duplicates were sent. In all, fewer than 20 pictures were found, including first-hand investigation on site at the agency's vaulted archives. Quite surprising, considering the historical significance of the event. These very photographs are the same ones circulated year after year on anniversary commemorations. It is estimated that in just the first 60 minutes on the moon, motivated by the tenuous nature of the circumstances, many more exposures could have been expediently taken. Also surprising is the scarcity of photographs of the mission's chief pioneer, Neil Armstrong. The greatest achievement in human history, and of the man whose first step echoed around the world, dawning a new age of scientific enlightenment, there is only one full-body picture of him on the moon, besides this ghostly reflection. This one, taken by an automatic camera mounted on the side of the lunar module. Perhaps he feared liability should the whole conundrum later become unraveled. Perhaps he has forgotten that he attested to the authenticity of the event with his signature on this plaque engraved by the federal government. In fact, in the more than 30 years since the event, aside from NASA's initial press conference and the occasional brief anniversary remarks where few questions were permitted, he has never given one on-camera interview to anyone, ever. From an analytical standpoint, photographic anomalies have to be sought out with an understanding of lighting and shadows. The most straightforward is simple. When objects are lit solely by the sun, as all the scenes on the moon were said to be, after all, lighting equipment was not only impractical, it was unnecessary in bright sunlight, then all shadows, regardless of the landscape, will run parallel with one another and never intersect, as shown by this example. In these seldom seen photographs, obtained from a rarely used auxiliary NASA archival site, it is clear that these scenes were lit with artificial light. These shadows, which are cast at different angles, are evidence that a second light source is being used. In addition, the sun would not cause an isolated hotspot like this, only an artificial light would. Again, intersecting shadows and another hotspot. And again. And again. It is simply impossible for this picture to have been taken with sunlight on the moon. Here, the shadows are shown to be as black as pitch. And yet here, completely in a shadow, the astronaut is lit up like a Christmas tree. How can this be? Or this, on the shadow side of the lunar module. In this magnification of an Apollo photograph, a rock, very likely a papier-mâché prop because of the crease here, is categorized with the letter C. In later releases of the same picture, the letter is gone, probably airbrushed out. Here, a crosshair, which was burned directly into the image from the film plate, and thus should always appear on top of the objects in the photograph, appears behind the object in this scene, clearly revealing a composite of two pictures into one.
Uh-oh.
Someone apparently forgot to create a burn crater underneath the lunar module's 10,000-pound thrust engine, despite the fact that during ground tests there was a real concern for the vehicle falling into the hole the engine created as it descended.
This thing just landed with no burn crater. Everything's just fluffy underneath. These people did not cover the details. Let's get a couple more minutes, man. The funny thing happened on the way to the moon, because it never happened.
Here is a depiction based on the latest specifications and scientific data. In these enlargements, it looks as though the lunar module was simply placed there. Not even one speck of moon dust on the landing pod.
Whoa.
As a result, all subsequent flights had to have the same discrepancy, which was explained away by the effect of no atmosphere.
Ignition.
And what about stars? On the moon, with no atmosphere, they must have been quite a sight to behold. Yet there is seldom any mention of them, if ever, by any of the astronauts on any of the missions. Undoubtedly, creating a mural with all the constellations properly placed in the sky would have been virtually impossible to create accurately, much less realistically. A competent amateur astronomer would have been able to call attention to the slightest error in measurement. The answer? Not to talk about the stars. Ever. In their post-flight press conference, it was the only question to which Neil Armstrong responded with an absence of memory.
When you looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars and the solar corona in spite of the glare?
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics. I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar corona what stars we could see.
I don't remember seeing any.
Years later, though, Michael Collins would remember seeing the elusive stars and wrote about them in Expeditions to the Moon. It seems his memory improved the older he got. Why don't stars appear in any of the photographs? Simply because the proper, mostly closed exposure setting for the camera's iris, set that way to compensate for the bright sunlight on the moon's surface, completely diminished the faintness of relatively distant specks of diminutive light. This answer is true. It does not, however, explain why they never took any pictures of the stars by themselves, with an exposure setting perfect for them. While they took 3 automobiles to the moon, they never took a photographic telescope. Had they done so, they would have been able to see farther into the universe than had ever before been realized. If they had taken a telescope and were not actually on the moon, they would have had to concoct undiscovered galaxies that might one day prove to be non-existent. The cost of the 3 moon rovers in 21st century currency? Nearly $60 million each, though they had fewer parts than a Jeep. Where was all this money going? Then there's the flag, blowing in the wind, at least twice, on the atmosphereless moon. We can only guess that most of the missions were staged inside for fear of possible aerial or satellite reconnaissance from an unfriendly nation. The backpacks, designed for 1/6 gravity, must have had the cooling systems removed to allow for movement without falling over. With very near and hot studio lighting, that left one hot astronaut inside. Assuming that it was the astronauts inside after all, their faces were always covered. The necessary mammoth amounts of air conditioning were probably responsible for the air current.
There's no atmosphere on the moon, boss.
Here the editor cuts to a still shot of the flag, just as the effect becomes noticeable. Here it is unchecked. This rare clip, attained decades ago, was never re-released, with the inevitable increase in experience and scrutiny.
Come on, brother.
To demonstrate 1/6 gravity, a bouncy, floaty feel to the astronauts' movements would be similarly achieved with relative simplicity. Slow motion. You are
Butterfly.
who quickly prompts them with talk. Immediately, Neil Armstrong speaks.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger. We're coming in on Earth.
Again, the illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a distance to demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private. Until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first screened and edited for playback later.
Roger, Neil. We just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get to playback, we can sort of correlate what we're seeing. Thank you very much.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows, as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number 1 window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it.
Look, this is necromancy. This is magic. Right? They just position their lens in the back of the ship, turned off the lights, and zoomed in and put like some type of barrier or border, so that the lens is only catching a piece of this Earth. This is the Earth, but it's just a slither of it. And they're going to remove whatever little boundary they put, and you're going to see that outside the window, they're so low to the Earth that the entire screen is covered with the flat Earth, Manaya. They're so close to the Earth, they make it look far with this lens deception, literally deception, by putting the lens in the back of the ship, zooming in and making a boundary or border so that you can't see the rest of it. And what happens when they unveil the truth?
That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. Here you can see the extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earth's shine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom and the inside of the window at the top, which together form 2 different sized halves of a circle. Subsequently, this take was never used. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience, dated July 18, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also states on this date, when he is in reality in low Earth orbit of a few hundred miles.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Here, during another segment, also intended to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
South America becomes invisible just off beyond the Terminator or inside the shadow.
You can also notice how the astronaut operating the camera reacted to the mistake by attempting to pan away from it.
Blue cast. See white bands of major cloud formations across the Earth.
This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice.
Boss.
Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert.
Magic.
Finally, the iris is opened up and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window.
Got Lights on. What happened to that little ball? Your whole window is filled with the low Earth orbit. Your whole window is filled with the melanated true Earth plane. You're not 130,000 miles away, boss. You're right on top of the flat plane. Full of dismount.
Here is the slate for the 19th of July. And the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July. And then the 20th. And the same.
And you ask you ask somebody if they seen a real picture of the Earth, man, they're gonna pull up this picture from Apollo or yada yada, and all it is fraudulent, fake cavalry.
Misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier?
Come on,
and the
brother.
moon is some 3 days' journey away. Furthermore, if they genuinely went to the moon, why would they be faking any part of it? Why this trickery with the window? By faking being halfway to the moon, it becomes apparent that they did so because they could not even go halfway. It thus confirms that the stumbling block to their success was the lethal radiation of the Van Allen radiation belts. Since the same equipment was used on the subsequent missions in the 40 months that followed, none of them could have gone to the moon. They only increased their proficiency at staging them. When some TV viewers of the second manned mission to the moon telephoned the networks complaining that reruns of I Love Lucy were being interrupted, it became clear that for the taxpayers, once was enough. But it wasn't enough for the government and contractors. Billions of dollars of pure profit went with each return.
And they took them billions and started firing nukes. Operation, what's that? Fishbowl, right? Paperclip, high jump or high jack. What they do with all these billions, Managi, when they was doing all this fake Cappadocia. And love to the bro Dizzle Fitty, man, who hit us with that doc. He said, man, I found the link to this great doc, man, and we featured it, man. And Dizzle Fitty, you got the drop, man. Dizzle Fitty got the flat drop, man. MHOE Dizzle Fitty, man. Top Battle is dropping some Soul Bone podcast drop. Okay, go dig on the Soul, top of the Soul Bone, SOLBONE podcast. See what Ty Battle's up to, man. I got some of it here, but there's a lot more for you right there at Soul Bone Podcast on IG, man. So Little America, aviation, yeah, Little America, bird in there. God. Okay. It says the club security or secretary who acts as editor of these articles has no direct word from Abel since the day that Jacob Rupert reached the barrier in the Bay of Whales. He had however, received messages through the Mackay radio and Bird headquarters. I can't see the rest. Oh, this jabroni get lost or something, man? There's a lot going on, man. They just coming up missing. With Antarctica, a balmy 38 degrees. they talking about Fahrenheit, man. The boys decide to go swimming. So it's Fahrenheit or Celsius, either way. Oh, Fahrenheit. It says it was a sunny summer day here, where the seasons are reversed back home. The air temperature was 38 degrees Fahrenheit, about as warm as Antarctica ever gets. The water temperature was a fraction above something degrees, the freezing point of the salty McMurdo station. So they wanted to go swimming. Oh yeah, that's another one we got to dig on. One of the jobs of the United States Navy's Operation Deep Freeze is to test newly developed cold weather survival equipment. Stop it, man. So we got Operation Deep Freeze, right? As well as Operation High Jump or High Jack. It's a great collection of articles. ThaWaDa Aqua Top Battle about this Antarctica situation. Antarctic flyers return home. The crew of the first plane to reach the Antarctic continent of the Operation Deep Freeze expedition, the first ever to bisect the Antarctic continent and the first to see at least 2 new mountain ranges in Antarctica, was the first crew home yesterday. They are looking for more lands beyond the pole. Covered 40,000 miles. They found several possible landing places at the pole at an altitude of 9,000 feet. 40,000 miles. But now they're saying they're 130,000 miles away from Earth. They went 40,000 miles already, and they went straight. They went straight, man. So nothing but collaborating evidence and drop showing that they've been going straight. They've been finding more land and more worlds beyond the poles, and they went silent about it, formed the Antarctic Treaty, and now they got astronauts. Now we talking about fakery and cappery of spinning balls. Y'all get this drop, man. Yeah. South Pole, other creatures lie dormant, survivors perhaps from a prehistoric age when Antarctica was warm and green. I think they know Antarctica is warm and green. They know. Little America, the winter down here near the South Pole keeps getting warmer and warmer. The world is shrinking with an ever consistent shrinkage, says Admiral Byrd. It just keeps getting warmer and warmer, man. It's all happening. Uh-huh. In spite of the apparent basic division of the American Antarctica into 2 sections, its great ice cap gives a general aspect of oneness, which is unique. This unity is further expressed in the climate and in life That is, of course, restricted to coastal zones. Restricted. I thought it wasn't illegal, but it is restricted in adjoining seas, whereas everywhere one finds the same species of seals, whales, and birds with an average altitude estimated at 6,000 to 7,000 feet above sea level. This is by far the highest of all continents. New world. New map of the new world. Man, all you're going to do is see more and more recon that they've been exploring. They've been seeing what they've been seeing, covering up what they've been covering up. And did y'all know about the Black Hawk, man? We done got the drop on the Blue Marvel. Shout out to Aboriginal Gang, the homie Huron 9 Israel, and ThaWaDa for sharing his water. For this man, we talking Marveling, Quantum, Flat Drop, JFK, World's Around the Poles. We covered a lot today. Take it slow, hear a little, dare a little. Flat Drop 101. Here's a little more comic drop in your face bowl, man.
And has tanked hits from Thor's hammer. He was later captured by the Avengers, where he revealed the secrets of the Hulk drug before being executed by Nick Fury.
Shot by the brother.
The first Hulk, Tyrone Cash. Tyrone Cash, also known as Black Hulk, was the first Hulk to appear in the series before Bruce Banner. Hailing from Earth 1610, Leonard Williams was a brilliant scientist who engineered a super soldier serum that turned him into the Hulk. He later adopted the nickname Tyrone Cash and began hunting wealthy gang lords and criminals.
Man, that's Mr. T, man.
Over the country. He has displayed feats of incredible strength, speed, and durability, and was able to retain his genius intellect even in his Hulk form. He has defeated the Ghost Rider, overpowered the War Machine, and has tanked hits from Thor's hammer. He was later captured by the Avengers, where he revealed the secrets of the Hulk drug before being executed by...
Damn. He dodged a hijack all this time, couldn't get taken out with Thor's hammer, but got sniped by the brother Nick Fury. It's a more on more war, man. And when we talk poles, we're talking flat. Flat poles. Spread out. I'm just talking pole. Is you talking pole? Y'all keep surfing the wave with me, and I'll keep surfing the wave with you. Digging on more worlds beyond the flat, spread out poles, man. Halal HaWah to the cons. Y'all make sure y'all make this strong. It's gonna be y'all strongest strong. We don't say weak, we say strong. So I don't want you to have a good week. I want you to have a great, strong, man. And make sure this strong is your strongest strong. Go deep within yourself, overcome all hijacks, purify in that code, Manaka. Keep the code, KTC. MHOE, Most High, over everything, Halal HaWah, tribe up, and salute to you, Drop Nation, because you got that water, that flat water. Halal HaWah.